There's something profoundly unsettling when a story, one that's been meticulously sculpted over the years, begins to crack under the pressure of hard evidence. And that's exactly what's unfolding around Meghan Markle and the birth of her son, Archie. For years, the public believed the narrative without question. Meghan gave birth. The palace confirmed it. We saw the photos. And the world moved on. But now, a bombshell revelation from the very hospital Meghan claimed to have delivered in is shifting the ground beneath that story. Because that hospital, they say she was never there. No admission, no delivery. Not even a glimpse of her walking through their doors. That's not just a discrepancy, it's a direct contradiction. And this isn't some wild online theory whispered in a corner of Reddit. This is coming straight from an official medical institution, with security logs, staff signatures, patient records, everything. And yet, not a single trace of Meghan. That kind of denial isn't a clerical error. It's a spotlight on a potential fabrication, a bold one. Remember? The palace told the world Meghan was in labor, but by the time they made that announcement, Archie had already been born for several hours. That's not a timing error. That's a cover. And in that moment, people started to notice something didn't feel right. Meghan looked flawless in those early photos, perfect makeup, radiant glow, no sign of labor fatigue, no hospital setting in the background. At the time, we shrugged it off. Maybe she bounced back quickly. Maybe it was just brilliant styling. But now with the hospital denying any record of her presence, those doubts from years ago are resurfacing there, landing harder. And this is just the beginning. Because it's not just the absence of hospital records. The entire timeline around Archie's birth has always been blurry. First, the palace says Meghan's in labor. Then suddenly, hours before that announcement, the baby is already born. Then, the next thing we see is a carefully staged photo. Up Meghan and Harry smiling, holding Archie, but no video of them arriving at or leaving a hospital. No signs of the typical royal birthing protocol. Compare that to Princess Diana or Kate Middleton. They walked into hospitals, gave birth, and proudly emerged baby in arms facing the press, the public, the entire world. It was royal tradition. Meghan and Harry chose to break from that tradition. And breaking tradition isn't suspicious in itself. But when there's no medical confirmation, no visual proof, no full birth certificate, it starts to feel less like privacide, more like strategic obfuscation. That's when the questions began. Was it a home birth? A private wing hidden from the public eye? Or was it a surrogate? At first, the idea of a surrogate was waved off as tabloid fiction. But now, with the layers of Meghan's story peeling away, that once outlandish theory doesn't seem so far-fetched. If Meghan didn't give birth at that hospital, then where did it happen? Did it even happen the way they told us? And here's where it gets even more curious. Old footage is resurfacing. Clips from Meghan's pregnancy where her bump appears to move oddly. In one scene, it's high and rounded. In another, it looks lower or even folded. There's even a video where the bump seems to crease as she sits down. Back then, people chalked it up to awkward camera angles or dress fit issues. But now, those clips are being scrutinized frame by frame. The question isn't about what designer she was wearing anymore, it's whether the pregnancy was real. At all. And what's most alarming isn't even the speculation, it's the silence. Meghan's team hasn't addressed the hospital's statement. Not a word, not even a soft denial. And if you've followed her media pattern, you know that. Silence is rarely accidental. Meghan doesn't react, she calculates, she waits. She chooses the perfect setting, the soft-spoken interviewer, the sympathetic lighting. But this time the story might be too big for damage control. The British Royal Institution has long operated on consistency. Every royal baby from William to George was born at a respected hospital, photographed on the steps, name revealed with precision. Birth certificate filed and shared, but Archie's birth tossed that entire script out. No press outside the hospital. No footage. No birth. Certificate made public in full. Just vague palace announcements and a tightly managed appearance. And now, with the hospital claiming Meghan was never there, those quiet rumors have grown into national headlines. And let's be clear, this isn't about bashing Meghan. It's about facts. It's about the legitimacy of a child born into the royal bloodline whose place in the line of succession depends entirely on one truth: that he was born to the woman claiming to be his mother. If that's in doubt, it's no longer just a PR scandal. It's a constitutional matter. Then there's the birth certificate itself. Was eventually released, but instead of clarity, it brought confusion. Meghan was listed under her full name, Rachel Meghan, Her Royal Highness. But the certificate omitted key details: no hospital listed, no doctor named. For a family known to document every moment from contractions to car rides, the absence of that information was jarring. And now, looking back, maybe it wasn't a mistake. Maybe it was part of a larger effort to craft a narrative. Palace insiders have started leaking bits and pieces, and none of it paints a clean picture. Even some royal family members, sources say, were caught off guard by the secrecy. Behind closed doors, there were whispers that Meghan may have opted for a surrogate. And that in itself isn't a scandal. Surrogacy is legal, not uncommon. But the question remains, if that's what happened, why hide it? Why build an entire storyline around a glowing, perfectly timed pregnancy? Why the photo ops, the baby shower, the curated interviews? Why the illusion? Because when your entire public image is built on being real, raw, and relatable, getting caught in a lie this monumental isn't just embarrassingness damaging. It turns questions into investigations, doubt into outrage, and a fairy tale into a potential cover-up. And that right there is where the story shifts from curiosity into crisis. And those soft focus interviews, they weren't just about sharing, they were about selling an image. Because for Meghan, it's always been about the story, the branding, the perception. A fairy tale pregnancy followed by the birth of a royal child plays far better on magazine covers and primetime interviews than a sterile surrogate arrangement hidden behind contracts and NDAs. If she did choose surrogacy, she absolutely had the right to keep the surrogate's identity private. But pretending to be pregnant? That's a whole other level of deception, one that crosses from privacy into manipulation. Now imagine being Harry, a man born into a life where every step is documented, every moment choreographed for the world to see. He's loyal, fiercely so, especially to Meghan. But how much does he really know? Was he part of the act from day one? Or was he told the same version of the story as everyone else? Some believe he knew and played along to protect their privacy. Others think he might have genuinely believed the narrative she created. Either way, what's becoming increasingly clear is that the public was never given the full truth. And the space between what was claimed and what actually happened has become wide enough to let in doubt, speculation, and a growing sense of distrust. Because this isn't just about whether Meghan gave birth or not, it's about why this matters. Isn't just another celebrity baby. It's part of the royal lineage. He holds a title. His place in the line of succession isn't symbolic, it carries constitutional weight. And if the story of his birth is compromised, then so is the legitimacy of everything that followed. Every photo, every announcement, every staged interview, all of it begins to feel like it needs a footnote. That's the danger of treating truth as just another PR decision. And while Meghan's team stays silent and the palace says nothing, the flames keep rising. Every day without answers is a day the public fills in the blanks on their own. And when you let others write the ending for you, it rarely works in your favor. This storm surrounding Archie's birth isn't fading, it's building. Public pressure is increasing. People aren't content with vague hints anymore. They want explanations. And as more old footage, photos, and inconsistencies resurface and go viral, Meghan's once glowing narrative is starting to look like an illusion built for the cameras. One video, now widely shared, shows Meghan in heels during her final trimester, stomach visibly shifting as she walks. Another clip captures her sitting, and the bump appears to fold in an unnatural way. These were once dismissed as odd camera angles or wardrobe slip-ups. Now they're being replayed frame by frame, studied like evidence in a trial. Social media is flooded with side-by-side comparisons. Viewers are analyzing her posture, her wardrobe, even how and where she places her hands. Was she cradling a baby or a prop? Theories that once lived on obscure blogs are now trending on mainstream platforms. And it's not just the internet sleuths anymore. Even former royal aides are reportedly questioning the lack of documentation surrounding Archie's birth, especially given how strictly protocol is usually followed for royal deliveries. Had Meghan simply announced she used a surrogate, the public may have embraced it. Surrogacy is no longer taboo. Many high-profile women have chosen that path and been respected for their honesty. But this isn't about surrogacy. It's about performance. It's about wearing a fake bump in public, staging baby showers, and posing for maternity shoots. In fact, it was all for show. That's not just deception. It's an entire production designed to shape perception. And the legal implications, they're just as serious. If Archie wasn't born from Meghan's body on, that detail was intentionally hidden. It could potentially impact his title, his royal standing, and his place in succession. The monarchy isn't just a family. It's a system built on rules, lineage, transparency, birthright. These aren't optional. They're fundamental. The Queen approved Archie's title. But the question now is, did she know the full truth? Or was she misled along with everyone else? Whispers are turning into reports that the surrogate, if there was one, wasn't even British. Some sources suggest she may have been from another country altogether, involved in a confidential arrangement, protected by strict non-disclosure agreements and airtight contracts. That would explain the absence of hospital records, the secrecy, the lack of any photos showing Meghan going in or out of a medical facility. It also explains why so little was shared in those early days. Because the less you reveal, the less you're asked to explain. Meanwhile, Meghan's PR machine is silent. No statements, no denials, not even a vague comment about respecting her family's privacy. That silence is deafening. And it's making things worse. Because when you say nothing, you let everyone else say everything. The media, the public, even her most loyal supporters are beginning to second-guess the entire story. Was the Oprah interview genuine? Or just another carefully staged moment in a broader strategy? Were the emotional appeals calculated? It all part of a long-term brand narrative rather than a raw, honest account. At the center of this swirling chaos is Archie, Anne's innocent child who didn't choose any of this. A child caught between two powerful worlds, one built on tradition, duty, and centuries of royal structure, and the other built on Hollywood glam, public image, and Instagram-perfect moments. If the full truth is ever revealed, and let's face it, that seems more likely with each passing diet, won't just damage Meghan's reputation. It could shake the very foundation of the monarchy she once claimed she was escaping from. Because Meghan didn't just tell a story, she built an identity around authenticity, around being silenced and finally speaking her truth. But now the question echoing louder than ever before is simple. If this was all a lie, what else is? And maybe even more importantly, why go to such incredible lengths to hide something so fundamentally human?